This week on Brian Ross Investigates. It seemed like the perfect summer camp for teenagers, folk music, campfires, and fun. But a new lawsuit says the teen girls here became prey for male counselors.
The first time I was sexually assaulted by a male counselor was when I was 13. I was raped.
Mandatory massage trainings. And the counselors organized what was called the Underwear Liberation Movement.
100%. No, and then there are multiple serious crimes.
We'll talk with the chair of the board of the organization that runs the camp, now saying they are conducting their own investigation.
But you are aware, a woman who says that at the age of 13 she was raped at the camp, that's a serious crime. Why have you not at least reported that allegation to law enforcement so that they can investigate, putting aside your own internal investigation?
It's our understanding that we were not supposed to have to do that. So if that is something...
Why wouldn't you?
Plus, this week's winners and losers in the media was chosen by the editors of Mediaite. See if you agree.
Are you still telling that lie, or are you telling new lies?
From the Law&Crime Trial Network, this is Brian Ross Investigates.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us, and welcome to our viewers on Facebook Live. I'm Brian Ross, joined as always by my colleague Rhonda Schwartz. And Rhonda, we begin with a troubling story about a place that was once thought to be one of the most wonderful summer camps anywhere in the country. Rhonda?
Brian, the pandemic effectively shut down summer camps last year, but the CDC has now put out guidelines they say will make it safe for summer camp to reopen. But as we discovered, the risk of COVID-19 is hardly the only danger children going away to camp could face.
Its promotional videos portray the summer camp as an idyllic place for children. Safe from the outside world in the mountains of southern Virginia. Established by what is known as the Association for Research and Enlightenment, ARE, generations of families have attended the ARE camp over the years. Like Hannah, seen in one of the ARE videos 6 years ago.
I've been coming here to camp for 19 years because it's home.
My grandmother attended camp. My mother and all of her siblings attended camp. As a teen, it was this idyllic place where I could be myself. I felt understood. And I felt like I was finally connecting with people in the way that I wanted to. And it was just this incredibly special place to me where I could be myself.
With its folk songs from the 60s and its mantra of mind, body, spirit connection, it seems so very special to many, like Lindsay.
It was a place that I thought was my spiritual home, a place in the summer that I could go have fun and feel safe. But unfortunately, it wasn't that.
And now, according to a lawsuit filed by Lindsay and Hannah and others, the camp is where a dangerous cycle of continued sexual abuse and cover-ups has lasted generations.
I started to notice when I was 14 and 15 that the older female campers and also the other 14-year-olds around me were being preyed upon by older male staff members.
Hannah says teen girls were encouraged to be part of what was called the liberated underwear movement.
All of the children who wanted to would strip down to their bras and underwears or just underwear. Sometimes staff members, specifically male staff members, would participate with us.
And was it more than just a liberated movement?
Yes. I would say, looking back, it absolutely was. I remember feeling sexualized and very uncomfortable with the entire situation.
Even worse, she says, was the so-called massage train seen in one of the ARE videos. That's Hannah as a teen.
I mean, sexualized, I mean touched without our consent. You had no say in who touched you. It was just you stood behind somebody and whoever wanted to would stand behind you. And oftentimes when you are a tall woman like myself, being hugged by somebody from behind, you're being touched in a place that you don't want to be touched. which was oftentimes very uncomfortable for me.
Did you at any point say no or try to report this?
Yes. When I was 20, I was sexually assaulted by a senior director. He had made advances to me all summer long. He touched me inappropriately all summer long, as well as sexually harassed me relentlessly. And I said no countless times, and eventually got so scared of him that I reported him directly to the camp manager.
But Hannah says nothing happened. The senior director, she says, assaulted her was rehired for the following summer term.
What finally led you to speak out and to bring this lawsuit?
I finally spoke up about it, and I was ostracized from the community and blamed because his feelings needed to be prioritized, which is a common theme in our community. Is women and girls are taught that we need to sacrifice our own feelings and overcome our feelings of discomfort and anger, because these men who have this karma or this soul that they need to work on need the community and need the love and light that they will get from this community.
Lindsay says she was told the same thing after she says she was repeatedly assaulted.
The first time I was sexually assaulted by a male counselor was when I was 13. I was raped and I reported it, and I was silenced and victim blamed.
Lindsay says when she returned to the camp a few years later, she was ordered to apologize to the counselor she says raped her.
And I was forced to confront him. I didn't know he was going to be there until I showed up. And it was horrific. I had a severe traumatic reaction. I panicked. I was crying. I was freaking out. As a 17-year-old even, it just brought back all of these flashbacks and feelings of initially losing my safe space, a place that my whole family had been, a place where I found many dear relationships that I still have. But the setting itself, the ARE has created an environment where children and young women such as myself were not safe. So when I was confronted with him, it was a horrible experience.
So you reported that he raped you and he was not fired. He continued to work there.
Yes. And also assaulted other young children.
And then you were ordered to do public forgiveness of him?
Yes, there was a ceremony held, very cult-like. For context too, this place is in a very remote location. I, at multiple times, tried to leave the program, and I did not have a car. I did not have a cell phone, and they were just gaslighting me and saying it was my job to forgive him and reintegrate him into this community because the values of this community are unconditional love. And so they said they loved me and they loved him and they wanted us all to be like a family. So I was forced into this situation and it was horrific.
I was going to say, how did that feel to be in that situation?
Even now talking about it, it's very difficult for me to let down my guard and really show the full emotion behind it because it's so triggering. I can't describe to you how horrific it is to be ambushed by people that I'm supposed to be able to trust and to feel gaslit by my entire community because so many people are brainwashed into thinking that yes, it's our soul's duty, it's our karmic duty to unconditionally love and forgive everyone, no matter what harm they cause.
According to the lawsuit, the camp repeatedly failed to call law enforcement about such attacks, and the lawyer for the young women, Stephen Esty, says an allegation has now been filed with local authorities.
But you would agree this is a serious crime as alleged by Lindsay?
100%. No, and then there are multiple serious crimes that were committed by not only on Lindsay, but by other clients at that camp.
And yet, no serious investigation as far as you know?
As far as I know, no.
The lawsuit names the Association of Research and Enlightenment and its executive director, Kevin Todeschi,
Our goal in bringing this lawsuit is to hold the ARE accountable, number one, and to stop this from happening again. The other thing we want to do is we want to put the shame back where it belongs, because the shame belongs with ARE, who failed to protect these young children, who fostered this cult-like atmosphere of sexual abuse and sexual assault.
The former campers behind the lawsuit say they are sad that a place with such great potential failed so spectacularly.
I want this to be an example for this is what not to do at a children's summer camp. Do not allow people that perpetrate abuse to be rehired. We need systems in place that prevent this. And that's true across all communities, I believe.
The camp has said they're looking into it, they're going to investigate. What do you say about that? And what do you think should happen?
Honestly, that the ARE is built on a crumbling foundation, on a foundation that was not meant to keep children safe and to keep women and the people who work for it safe. And I think that it's time to put that to an end and protect children and women.
When we come back, we'll hear from the people who run the camp. What did they know and when did they know it? You're watching Brian Ross Investigates on the Law and Crime Trial Network. As we heard, the former campers are alleging in their lawsuit that there was an effort to maintain and cover up a system of rampant sexual abuse, a charge the people who run the camp at the group called ARE strongly deny. We're joined now by Laura Little, who's the chair of the board at ARE. And Ms. Little, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for reaching out to us, Brian. We appreciate it.
What is your reaction to this lawsuit with the damning accusations?
You know, these allegations are so disturbing. They are actually painful to read. We're all in great distress. And we've been aware of them for 11 months. And we realized pretty early on that we needed to do a third-party investigation. And that's what we have initiated. And we're toward the final stages of the investigation, and we will be making steps toward accountability and toward changing our policies and procedures, whatever needs to happen to make this right.
The lawsuit alleges that you've essentially covered it up. Somebody at your organization has covered up rampant sexual abuse.
Yeah, that's just absolutely not true. As soon as these allegations became available to us, as soon as they were posted on a Facebook page, and it was the first time any of us on the board were aware of it, we immediately got to work. And we have been working really hard the last 11 months to follow up, to work with a really professional third-party investigation organization so that we can get to what the truth of the matter is and know what we need to do as an organization. We absolutely want to do the right thing. We're not trying to cover up anything.
One of the young women who is suing you says she was raped at the age of 13 at the camp. Mm-hmm. Were you aware of that? Was anybody at the camp? She said she reported it, and she was made to essentially apologize to the person who she says raped her.
That's just an awful, awful thing to hear. And I am not aware of that situation at this point. What we have done in our investigation was ask people to report who have had firsthand experiences, people like the allegation in the lawsuit. And if that comes through our system, it's being investigated thoroughly.
But has this been reported to local law enforcement that a 13-year-old was raped at the camp?
I am not aware at this point that a 13-year-old, I don't have the facts that a 13-year-old was raped other than what's in the lawsuit. And so we're not able to report something that we did not know.
But you are aware, a woman who says that at the age of 13, she was raped at the camp. That's a serious crime. Why have you not at least reported that allegation to law enforcement so that they can investigate, putting aside your own internal investigation?
it is our understanding that we were not supposed to have to do that. So if that is something,
But why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do that?
We would do whatever the right thing is. That's what we're trying to do.
Do you doubt the word of this young woman?
I don't know this young woman, so I cannot say one way or the other.
Are you aware of what was called the liberated underwear movement?
I was not familiar with that till I read it in the lawsuit. No.
What do you make of that?
It does not fit with the ideals of our organization whatsoever. And so again, these are the kinds of things that we are hoping to uncover in our investigation. And we look forward to hearing what the investigators have come up with.
Both women who are involved in the lawsuit told us that they were essentially made to apologize and forgive the men who they say attacked and assaulted them. Is that consistent with what happens at that camp?
If that is true, it is not a part of our ideals. It's not something that we would approve of whatsoever. And it makes me personally extremely sad and extremely distressed. I'm very concerned for anyone that would have happened to, without a doubt. No, that is not the way we expect staff to conduct themselves. That is not part of our policy and procedure.
You've had this for 11 months. Have you taken any steps to fire anyone?
At this point, we're waiting for the end of the investigation. We have not. The camp has been closed. It was closed in 2020. It's closed this year. It may never reopen, but we won't know the answers to those questions until we get through the final stages of the investigation.
Ms. Little, these two women who we've talked to who are part of the lawsuit say they came to the camp. It was a spiritual home for them. They were crushed by what happened. What do you say to them?
Anyone who feels like they have been harmed through anything to do with Edgar Casey's ARE has my greatest sympathy. And I am so sorry for anything that may have happened to anyone at any of our activities. And as I said to you, that reading these allegations is just deeply personally painful. And as I've read through them, I've had my own set of tears because if this has happened to anyone, it is not acceptable to this organization. And people will be accountable.
Laura Little, chair of the board of ARE, thank you so much for being with us here tonight.
Thank you, Brian.
The sheriff in the Virginia county where the camp is located says he will investigate any allegation brought to his attention. Coming up next, the winners and losers in the media this week. See if you agree with the choices made by the editors of Mediaite. You're watching Brian Ross Investigates on the Law and Crime Trial Network. Time now for this week's winners and losers in the media, as chosen by the editors of Mediaite. And we're joined by Aidan McLaughlin, who's the editor-in-chief of Mediaite, which, like the Law and Crime Trial Network, is part of the Dan Abrams media empire. And Aidan, will begin with your winner, CNN, for hiring away a reporter from Fox News, Aidan.
That's right. So Fox News White House correspondent Kristen Fisher announced on Friday in the early evening that she's leaving Fox News at the end of a live hit on Special Report, which is Bret Baier's program. She didn't say where she was going in that live hit, but a source told Mediaite that Fisher is joining CNN as a space correspondent. One interesting aspect of this announcement is that it was, of course, made at 6 p.m. on Friday, which was almost certainly at the behest of Fox News, who is probably looking to keep this somewhat on the down low that CNN had poached one of its star reporters. Fisher's very well respected in the industry and at Fox News. She's an impressive reporter and has a great on-air presence. So Fox News' loss here is CNN's gain.
A smart hire for CNN, no doubt. The loser this week, Newsmax, who had the misfortune in live television to have a guest who essentially turned on them. Former Obama speechwriter David Litt was asked about Elon Musk and change the topic.
I mean, what happened on SNL this weekend was that people made stuff up and then said it on television like it's true. And that actually happens pretty frequently in American TV. For example, in 2020, Dominion Voting Systems sued Newsmax over its false claims about election fraud. Newsmax was lying to its own viewers, and Newsmax had to settle that lawsuit. So actually, I just need to check in. Are you still telling that lie, or are you telling new lies?
Aidan, you can only imagine them tearing out their hair in the control room at Newsmax as their guests turned on them.
I mean, absolutely brutal stuff there. I mean, what I love about this clip is you really see that David Litt, who was a former Obama speechwriter who was the guest there, he came in with an idea and he executed it perfectly. It was, you want to feel bad for Newsmax and the anchor there a little bit. And then you remember that David Litt is right. Newsmax lied about the 2020 election on air repeatedly and then got sued for billions of dollars by Dominion, which is a voting systems company that was caught up in those lies. And Newsmax eventually apologized and issued a massive retraction of its election coverage and a correction. It's odd there that the anchor, the Newsmax anchor, didn't cite that correction and say, we've apologized for this and we've corrected and point to the statement that they issued. Instead, the segment ended very abruptly, and after he kept trying to bring it back to SNL. It's a really embarrassing moment for Newsmax there.
I don't think we'll see David Litt on Newsmax again soon, do we?
That's certainly
all right,
not,
Aidan,
no.
thank you so much for joining us.
Lesson.
They did. It's a tough lesson to learn live TV. Well, thanks again for joining us, and thanks to all of you for watching. And thanks to our great staff here at Law and Crime for getting us on the air and off the air once again.